Hey everyone, and welcome to the Daily Word. I'm really glad that you have joined me. We're going to go into Luke chapter 6 today and talk just a little bit today about the Sabbath. There is conflict that arises between the religious leaders and Jesus because of the Sabbath. First of all, the disciples, they were hungry. They took a few heads of grain so that they could have a little something to eat. And apparently the religious leaders were following them around, observed this, got onto them. You're not supposed to pick wheat. You're not supposed to do work on the Sabbath and so on. And fast forward, Jesus does a healing on the Sabbath, and that kind of sends them into orbit. And so let's dig in to the Sabbath. First of all, to see, as Jesus says, the Sabbath is created for man, for people, and not the Sabbath, not people, not man for the Sabbath. It's meant as a gift to us. And so let's think through then what Sabbath is. Sabbath rest is about having a day where there is no work, and a big part of that is to rest in the sovereignty of God. To know there's a day that I could just rest, and I don't have to do anything. The world is still going to keep turning. God is still in control. He's still in charge. There's a day that I cannot work, and you know what? I can trust that God will provide for me even still. So the Sabbath is an act really of trust, and what a gift also, that the Sabbath is a declaration of our value. That is to say, our value being more than just our work, right? That we are more than just what we do, that we are actually valuable in and of ourselves to God even when we're not working, right? And Jesus, here we see in chapter 6, declares His absolute sovereignty over the Sabbath. He declares that essentially He has the right as God to, well, say what the Sabbath is about, to define it, to say this is what the Sabbath is, this is what it's not. He has the authority to do that. And so clearly this is a claim that He is God. But not only that, what we see as we move along through the New Testament is we see that Jesus is not only Lord of the Sabbath, He is actually also the fulfillment of the Sabbath. That in fact, the reality of the Sabbath, the whole point of it, ultimately was pointing to Jesus. Because it is in Jesus that we find our true rest. That we can rest from our labors, that is, our efforts to prove, to justify ourselves, to prove our worth, to prove our righteousness, to earn our salvation, to earn our place before God, that Jesus has actually done all that is necessary for our salvation, and that we can then enter into a full rest in Him, so that even when we're working, our souls can be at rest. So that Sabbath can actually be more than a day off, that Sabbath rest is actually our eternal condition. In Hebrews chapter 4, we read about this, and I want to share just a portion and then we'll close. So God's rest, we read in chapter 4, verse 6, God's rest is there for people to enter, but those who first heard the good news failed to enter because they disobeyed God. So God set another time for entering His rest, and that time is today. God announced this through David much later in the words already quoted. Today, when you hear His voice, don't harden your hearts. Now, if Joshua had succeeded in giving them this rest, God would not have spoken about another day of rest still to come. There is a special rest still waiting for the people of God. For all who have entered into God's rest have rested from their labors, just as God did after creating the world. So let us do our best to enter that rest. But if we disobey God, as the Israelites did, we will fall. And then he goes on to speak about the Word of God and its power. But my invitation to you is today, right now, since the day is today, to enter into His rest. To rest in how He defines you, who you are. To rest in the accomplishment of your salvation, that you can trust that He has done everything necessary for your salvation. To trust that your worth to Him is actually bigger than what you do, that He treasures you. And thanks be to God for that. God is so good. He is so good. And so until we get a chance to speak again, I pray that God would bless you and keep you.